Hey, what's going on, guys? Richard here. We are now talking NG Series Solenoid. So this has been it's probably going to be a fairly short video, but we just wanted to give a quick update. This has been a fairly long ongoing process with Mac to get these solenoids fixed. There has been an issue that we have found in designing the hindsight engine, which it is absolutely the best possible thing to put in that marker system. But we found it out in designing that. And we wanted to kind of make a video about it, explaining what it was. So back in the day, there was no spec put onto paper for the armature, on the inside. So how long that armature stays open. Now, this is a big deal because it's going to affect, do you need to raise dwell? Do you need to raise HPR? Do you need to do something to the marker? If the armature is not within spec, you're going to have to do something to make it work. So it's a big deal that this armature spec is actually correct. Now, Mac didn't have it. Field 1 didn't have it. Bob Long didn't have it. The engineer that was on the design of the marker, he was not the one that designed this. So he didn't have it. We don't remember who was the one who actually physically made the design for this for Mac. So we didn't know. We basically had to do the investigating ourselves. And we did. The team that we have here is really, really good. Very knowledge-based crew, very deep within the industry. And we were able to go through and figure out what this spec was. But to kind of further explain, which I'm going to do the most layman's terms, I'm going to try to do the best I can. I'm not an engineer, but I do know what the issue is. So to put it simply, for bullet valves for Mac, they test on a 1 to 5 scale. For this internal spec, for this internal armature, they obviously do other testing than that, but this internal armature spec, they test within a 1 to 5, right? So for us, that's actually a really big deal because even though this solenoid for Mac, if this thing tests within 1 to 5, it's good. They just throw it into a pile and go to the next one. Stick it on their machine. Oh, this one tests a 2, this one tests a 3, this one tests a 4, this one tests a 5. 1 to 5, it's okay for them. But let's say for the sake of argument, our solenoid, this guy here, needs to test within 4 to 5 in order to work. In order to be considered a factory spec NG series noid, it needs to be 4 to 5. Okay, now there is a numerical system to this, which I don't really remember what it is, but for the sake of argument, this is essentially how I was told to explain it. So this solenoid the armature should be opening within 4 to 5 range. Okay, now you can see, since this applies to all parts of the gun, your HPR, this applies to your dwell, this applies, it's a really important spec to get correct. We don't have record of what it is. Mac just goes by what they have, which is let's just go from 1 to 5. This explains a whole lot. How back in the day they could get, I can't tell you how many of these we had at the initial buyout of this stuff. We had an entire box of these solenoids, okay, that were, I'm assuming we're probably out of spec range, so far out of spec range that they couldn't use it. But let's just say, for example, they get a batch of solenoids that are all testing from 2 to 3.90. Now you're going to have to raise dwell. Now you're going to have to raise HPR just to get it to work. Dwell's not going to be stock. I've seen some forum threads where guys are having to raise their dwell to like 16, 17 or something like that. I think even higher, actually, just to get their NG to work. And that's not even on top of raising HPR. Reflex engine's supposed to run, I think, close to 200. On the low end might be 195, but I think, the last one that I did, it was close to 225 because it's not realistic. You just can't, it really is 200 to 225 at the highest. Okay, granted, that's the highest that I've seen those run. But you now can see when you've got an engine here that runs on 140 PSI at the lowest, that's the lowest one that I did where it was right around 140 PSI. Its stock is usually 160 to 180, but it's a huge, monumental deal. And so we've been working with Mac over the past year and a half to get these fixed. And thank the Lord, Mac is awesome. They were like, you know what? We can absolutely calibrate these better. We're going to do you one better. So instead of having these solenoids be from 4 to 5, we're going to give you this extra 0.3. Now, they had a whole long speech on why that's a big deal. I'm not going to go into everything that they said, but essentially that 0.3 is pretty huge. So all these new noids now are going to be 4.3 to 5. which will be considered a factory spec for this particular solenoid. We now have the data. It's now been applied. So whenever these get ordered again, we're actually getting factory spec NG series solenoids, which again affects everything with your gun to do with the air. It's a really big deal. And so I'm just happy that we were able to get this resolved. We do have other, videos that we want to come out with this, but we needed this fixed. Like we needed to get that fixed, and we've got a few other things that we're waiting to come out. So when we have a full complete system to show you guys in those videos, we want to do a little production behind it and actually have some cool shooting and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we really wanted to go over this. This is a key component to obviously some of I would say quite a few failures that are out there. But we do have them available online. If you guys have any questions, customer service at blastlegacy.com. You can just hit us up. We can email you back. You can leave it in the comments or post it, however you guys want to do it. But we're happy to answer any questions that you have. This was a pretty big, I think it's a very significant find, and I'm very, very happy that Mac was able to work with us on this. This is obviously not how they make their money, working with a small company to produce, some noids. So I'm very appreciative of them. The team over there has been absolutely, phenomenal to work with. So, if you guys have any questions, email us. Appreciate you guys. Take care.